It was a calm Monday evening, just shy of 7:30. I'd been deep in work all day, tangled in a complex project inside my home office. Though there was still a mountain of unfinished tasks waiting, I decided to call it a night. I wandered into the softly glowing kitchen, grabbed a chilled bottle of my favorite IPA from the fridge, and took a slow sip. My eyes naturally drifted to the window, and there she was, Joy, lounging on the outdoor sofa near the fire pit and pool. Her legs were folded beneath her as she chatted away on her phone, laughing and gesturing with ease. I thought about stepping outside to join her, but something held me back. She was absent-mindedly twirling a lock of her blonde hair around her fingers, a habit I'd come to know intimately over nearly 30 years together. It wasn't flirtatious, more of a quiet reflex, one that always struck me as deeply personal. It reminded me of all those late-night calls we shared when I was away on business trips. I used to picture her just like this, voice warm, fingers play with her hair, and that simple image helped me feel closer, even when I was hundreds of miles away. From where I stood, I could see her smile lighting up the dimming evening, her laughter spilling through the glass. Though I couldn't see the twinkle in her eyes from inside, I was certain it was there. But as I continued watching, admiration gradually gave way to unease. There was something different in her tone, too lively, too affectionate, as if the person on the other end of the call mattered more than she was letting on. For 45 long minutes, I remained frozen at the window, quietly observing a conversation that felt far too personal. When she finally hung up, the soft smile still resting on her lips felt like a betrayal. I turned away, suddenly feeling hollow, and walked into the family room. I turned on a local baseball game and stared blankly at the screen, pretending to care. A few minutes later, Joy came inside. "How long have you been done with work?" she asked. "Been a while," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Why didn't you come out back?" she pressed. "You were on the phone." "Didn't want to interrupt," I replied, keeping it casual. "Oh, please, that was just Steve. We were going over Philip's account," she said, waving it off. I gave a small nod and turned my attention back to the TV. But I could feel her watching me, trying to read something deeper. She went into the kitchen and returned with a glass of wine, settling onto the couch beside me. "What's the score?" she asked. "No idea," I admitted. She let out a soft chuckle. "Do you even know who the Sox are playing?" "The Blue Jays," I replied, distracted. We sat in silence through half an inning before a commercial break prompted her to speak again. "Let's have the kids over this Saturday for a barbecue," she suggested. "Sure," I said flatly. She tried to keep the conversation going, but my short, indifferent replies seemed to dampen her spirit. Eventually, she asked quietly, "Chris, is something bothering you?" "Nothing," I lied. "You don't seem like yourself." "Want to talk about it?" she asked, her voice gentle. "No," I answered firmly. The quiet stretched into the next inning, the tension sitting heavy between us. Then, in an effort to cut through it, she stood up and pulled off her blue V-neck tee in one smooth motion. Flashing a playful grin, she said, "Why don't you turn that off and come upstairs with me? I can help you relax." "Not tonight, Joy. I'm not in the mood," I said without emotion. Her smile didn't falter. She stepped closer and teased, "Come on, big guy. Mama's feeling needy." I met her eyes, cold now. What part of not in the mood didn't you understand? Her face dropped. "What's your deal?" "I was just trying to be sweet," she said, sounding wounded. "Joy, you turn me down at least twice a week. The one time I say no and you throw a fit? Grow up. Just leave me alone." Her eyes flared with anger before she stormed out, her expression sharp as steel. That night, for the first time in our entire marriage, I found myself sleeping in the guest room, or more accurately, staring at the ceiling, wide awake, my mind racing. By 3 a.m., I had given up on sleep. I grabbed a shower in the kids' old bathroom, then slipped quietly into our bedroom to collect clothes without waking her. Before leaving for work, I took a step I never thought I would. I installed tracking software on both her phones, personal and work, and synced them to my devices. Despite the pounding headache and too much caffeine, I powered through the day and wrapped up an important presentation. I had to. I was flying out early the next morning for a 2-day business trip. Tuesday evening came and went with barely a word exchanged. We barely spoke, and whatever intimacy once came so easily now felt miles away. By dawn Wednesday, I was on my way to the airport for my 7:20 a.m. flight. The day was productive. The meeting went better than expected, and I was hopeful about sealing the deal. Still, every few hours, I checked Joy's location. She was always at work or home. Nothing suspicious. But the knot in my stomach wouldn't go away. That night, as I sat alone in the lounge of the Marriott, I checked the app again. At exactly 7:30 p.m., her signal moved to a high-end neighborhood across town. The location? Her boss's house. My doubts had become certainty. The months that followed were a blur of tension and quiet realizations. I kept things civil on the surface, but emotionally, I was already drifting away. Joy, to her credit, made attempts to bridge the growing distance. She smiled more, touched me more often, tried to rekindle what we'd lost. But when we were intimate, on the rare occasions it happened, it felt hollow, robotic, completely stripped of any real affection. The tracking apps I'd installed only confirmed what my instincts already screamed. She reserved her time with Steve for when I was away. Small surveillance cameras I had discreetly placed around the house caught her in the act, packing her things, slipping out, heading straight to his place each time I left town. Following my attorney's advice, I brought in a private investigator. The footage he returned with was devastating. Joy and Steve, exposed and careless, caught on camera in intimate moments in his backyard, as if secrecy had stopped mattering. The photos didn't leave room for doubt. With undeniable proof in hand, I started preparing for what had to be done. That Thursday evening, I made 3 of the hardest phone calls I've ever had to make, one to each of our adult children. I couldn't hold back my emotions. I cried each time I told them I was divorcing their mother. When they asked why, I only said, "Do you want to see the evidence?" None of them answered. By Friday morning, everything was in motion. Nearly 30 years of marriage, all of it, was drawing to a devastating but inevitable end. Later that day, I called Joy. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, sweetheart. What a nice surprise. How are your meetings going?" Her tone was warm, upbeat, effortlessly sweet. "Hey, love. You know, the usual, long and boring." I said, "How's work treating you?" "I'm just glad it's finally Friday," she said with a sigh. "I've missed you. It's been a lonely week, and I'm really hoping we can make up for that this weekend." Her voice had a flirty undertone, but what caught my attention was how carefully she skipped over any details about her day, something I'd grown used to noticing in recent months. Joy had developed a skill for dodging specifics. She went on, "So, what made you call me out of the blue like this?" "I have a question," I said carefully. "It might sound strange, but I want a real answer." "This sounds serious," she replied, intrigued. "You rarely call like this. What is it? Do you like my smile?" I asked. She hesitated, confused. "Your smile? What kind of question is that?" "Of course, I love your smile. You've told me that a lot over the years." I reminded her. "It was actually the first thing you ever said to me. That frat party. You walked up, left your friend behind, and told me I had a great smile." There was a pause. When she finally spoke, there was tension in her voice. "Chris, what's going on? You're starting to scare me." I tried to stay steady. "I've always tried to look at the good in life. Even when things were rough, being with you, raising our kids, it gave it all meaning." Her voice softened. "That's one of the things I love most about you. Your optimism, your kindness, your strength. You're everything a man should be, Chris. I love you for all of that." That broke me. Tears welled up and spilled over before I could stop them. Even now, her love still sounded real. And maybe it was, but it was no longer enough. "Chris, talk to me," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "Please, tell me what's wrong." I let the silence hang for a long, aching moment. "I don't think I can smile anymore," I said finally. The stillness on the line was deafening. I imagined her standing there, the wheels turning, her heart sinking. She knew. "Chris, please, you're scaring me. Just tell me." "It's too late, Joy. Words won't fix this." No, she said quickly, desperation bleeding into her voice. It's never too late. We can work through this. We've been through worse. I shook my head, though she couldn't see me. Love alone is enough, I said. It takes trust, respect, and joy. I know you still love me. And yes, I love you too. But I don't trust you anymore. And somewhere along the line, you stopped respecting me. She tried to speak, but I didn't let her. Respect is gone, Joy. It's over. What are you talking about? She asked, voice trembling. I gave her one last instruction. Go to the living room window. What? Stand up from Steve's lounge chair. Walk through his kitchen. Look out the front window. The line went dead for a few seconds. Then, suddenly I heard her scream. Oh my God! Oh God! He knows. Chris knows. From where I stood, parked 75 feet away in Steve Davis's driveway, I could see her clearly through the front glass. She stood frozen next to him, her lover, her boss. Even with the sun's glare, I could make out enough. I climbed out of the U-Haul, backed it into the driveway, and braked hard. Boxes tumbled out the back, crashing onto the pavement. I heard the sharp sound of glass breaking. Some of it was from her great-grandmother's antique china. She appeared on the steps wearing the same bikini I'd given her on our anniversary, the one she said she only wore for him. Steve followed behind, nervously cinching a robe around himself. Neither of them noticed the unfamiliar car parked nearby until a woman stepped out. She walked over, handed each of them a yellow envelope. Joy Harrington, she said crisply, you've been served. A photo was snapped. Then she turned to him. Stephen Davis, you and your firm Smith, Davis & Lewis have also been served. Another photo. Then she turned and walked away without a word. Everyone stood motionless. I broke the silence. I think we can all agree I deserve better than a cheating, disloyal wife. Joy groaned but didn't speak. Turning to Steve, I added, get in touch with my lawyer. Make a generous settlement offer. Otherwise, I'll make sure your name and your firm go down in flames. I looked at Joy one last time. Signed the papers. We're finished. Without waiting for a reply, I climbed back into the truck and drove off, leaving them, that house, and 30 years of lies in my rear-view mirror. And that's where this chapter ends.